Welcome to the Fantasy Football Forge. My name is Steve, and I apologize for my beautiful attire this morning, or this afternoon, actually. And I am working from behind right now. I had to waste several hours last night attempting to log on into my website manager in order to put my rankings up there like they normally would be. However, had a little bit of an issue. Cutscene, and we are back here. So I left off. I never ended up being able to log in. So for now, the best place to see my updated rankings will be with me live 1 hour before kickoff on Sunday. That's where I will for sure have my final rankings up, and hopefully I get them up onto the website. Probably on Thursday. I'll have to call in to somebody somewhere, get some help with that. Other than that, my quarterback and tight end rankings videos have already been up, so you can check those out if you need any help with those positions. Wide receiver video will probably be coming out on Thursday early. I'm hoping to make a few announcements as to what to expect in the off season as far as my kind of content that I'll be providing in the Saturday special videos, so check that out for whatever I'm able to get on there and let you know about. Otherwise, let's get right on to the running back rankings. And if you're not familiar, I start off with the ECR, the Expert Consensus rankings, and then I shuffle them around based on what I think, based on this difficulty rating, helping to guide my thoughts on players. This is a simple matchup difficulty. Here is the opponent this week. Red is good, blue is bad, white is neutral. And then I have already done my projections, which are normally up on the website. And so I'll just, in case those don't go up, we'll just spare explaining those and here is the difference between myself and the ECR. So I did end up using my projections to help make these rankings, so they should be pretty close to the final product that you will see on Sunday. Of course, there will be some shiftings. There are some players that we don't know if they'll be playing or not. I'll try to cover some of those scenarios as we go through. Most of the players that I will be talking about are going to be players that I have the largest difference between where I currently have them ranked and where the ECR currently is. So now let's go right on through these rankings. We'll go through them in tiers, and I have a pretty large running back first tier for the running backs, which starts off at Austin Ekeler, followed by Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, James Conner, Dalvin Cook, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, Travis Etienne Jr., Ramondre Stevenson, Kenneth Walker, Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, and Tony Pollard wrap that up at running back 14. As you can see, nobody that I have any huge differences of opinion with. My cutoff was a little bit higher than this, than 4 for this video, but if you do have any start-sit questions, those you can ask in the video as well, or of course, when I go live on Sunday. That's what I'm there for at that point in time, but you don't have to ask me any questions. You can always just look at the rankings there. Let's move on to my second tier running backs, which starts off at RB15 with Aaron Jones, who will just stop right there real quick. There are some questions as to his health, and so that would obviously impact his rankings and AJ Dillon's rankings. So we're going to have to pay attention to the news that comes out on those throughout the week in order to help determine how comfortable we are with either one of them or not. And so at RB16, I have David Montgomery, followed by Miles Sanders, Leonard Fournette, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, Jerick McKinnon, Najee Harris, Ezekiel Elliott, Tyler Algier, and Brian Robinson Jr. So the first player that we really have a big difference with here compared to the experts is going to be Leonard Fournette, who I have 5 spots ahead of the ECR. I have him at running back 18. The ECR on him is running back 23. Going up against Carolina, it's a slightly good matchup. And of course, Leonard Fournette offers that receiving ability, which really helps to offset any kind of bad matchup anyways. And based on most recent usage, it appears that he's going to be getting a good amount of the backfield work compared to Rachaad White. And so I don't really expect that to change. That's definitely how I projected it. So if you do hear any kind of news about Rachaad White, obviously that would have some impacts on my rankings, as you'll see I have Rachaad White a little bit lower than the ECR2 later on down the road. Now let's move on to DeAndre Swift, who I ranked 20th, which is 5 spots ahead of the ECR. The ECR on him is 25th, going up against Chicago. And himself and Jerick McKinnon have some very similar type profiles as far as the projections, how much they get on the field, the type of work that they get. So it was a very close ranking between the two. I'll just point that out real quick. But I do want to mention, because DeAndre Swift did have such a terrible fantasy week last week, that is true. It didn't go so well, but all of the opportunity was there, surprisingly, so not overly concerned about the opportunity. And if Jamal Williams is actually injured and limited or doesn't play this coming weekend, that should help give him a little bit more work, at least. Maybe not a whole lot more, but a little bit more this weekend in a really good matchup going up against Chicago. So I have a lot of faith in hopefully being able to capitalize on the opportunities this coming weekend compared to last. And so ultimately, I do like that. Just a touch more than Jerick McKinnon, but very, very similar profiles. Now let's get on to the next tier of running backs here, starting off at running back 26 with Isaiah Pacheco, followed by Devin Singletary, Deonta Foreman, J.K. Dobbins, Zonovan Knight, Jamal Williams, Latavius Murray, Zach Moss, A.J. Dillon, Rachaad White, James Cook, and Chuba Hubbard. And my cat is joining us. All right, she's just going to sit right over here on the desk. So I do have Zonovan Knight highlighted here. Just want to point out that he is someone that definitely the projections lowered him for where compared to where I was thinking originally. He's very much a candidate to be moving up some in the projections, at least ahead of probably as high as 25, 26, somewhere in the Tyler Algier, Brian Robinson range of running backs there. Najee Harris, Ezekiel Elliott, all of them from 22 through 25, maybe 26, maybe 27, we'll see here with a moment in J.K. Dobbins, are very much close in terms of where my thoughts are on them. So let's just move on to J.K. Dobbins, who I have 5 spots behind the ECR. The ECR is 24 on him. I have him ranked at 29th, going up against Pittsburgh. Not a great matchup. I'm pretty darn surprised by this ranking at 24th by the experts. I think that will probably go down over the week. His usage is not guaranteed. It's not going to be, a whole lot most weeks, but he is quite efficient with the usage, so that's great. But I'd say the main thing here for J.K. Dobbins is if Lamar Jackson were to return, then he becomes that other player that I was just talking about with Zonovan Knight moving into this group of guys from Najee Harris to Brian Robinson. So does J.K. Dobbins in that scenario. Would move right up into the back end of the top, the second tier of running backs that I have there. Now let's go on to A.J. Dillon, who I have 7 spots behind the ECR. The ECR on him is 27. I have him ranked 34th, going up against Minnesota. It's an okay matchup, not a great one, not a bad one. There is just some concern as to how much usage he may or may not have. And so just like we talked about with Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, his where he'll end up being ranked does depend a little bit on any news that may come out of Green Bay throughout the week. Now let's move on to Jeff Wilson Jr., who I have at the top of my next tier at running back 38, followed by Cordero Patterson, Raheem Mostert, Khalil Herbert, Antonio Gibson, Kareem Hunt, Gus Edwards, Royce Freeman, Michael Carter, and Samaje Perine. Raheem Mostert, I have 7 spots behind the ECR. I have him ranked 40th. The ECR on him is 33rd, going up against New England. Not a good matchup. I might be a Raheem Mostert over Jeff Wilson game, but as far as the two of them go, just like I suspected last week, why I had Jeff Wilson ranked ahead of Raheem Mostert last week is that most weeks when they're both been healthy, Jeff Wilson's been more so the traditional running back, gets a little bit more of the usage than Raheem Mostert, and so I expect that to continue. Not a great matchup for either one of them, and let's just move on to Khalil Herbert, who I have ranked as 7 spots ahead of the ECR. I have him ranked 41st. ECR on him is 48th. Obviously, my projections definitely played a role in this. And going up against Detroit, good opportunity for a touchdown, good opportunity to be fairly productive with the usage that he gets. And so we'll see if this maintains, but really at this point I'm going to trust my projections pretty heavily and not argue with them too much. So don't mind Khalil Herbert in a super pinch this week to hope to get you 8 points, 9 points, something like that. Hopefully get you that touchdown. Then Michael Carter, I have 4 spots behind the ECR. The ECR on him is 42nd. I have him ranked 46th, going up against Seattle. I may end up moving him up a little bit. I'm pretty sure my projections are the reason that he is down here, and so it's a decent matchup. Unfortunately, he hasn't had a whole lot of usage as of late, and so that is concerning, and that's where at least these guys, there's a little bit more of a guarantee of usage, or even more usage in some of these instances. So that's where he ended up landing. That's that story there. And then on to my last tier here at running back 48. I do have Deion Jackson at the bottom, 4 spots behind the ECR, going up against the New York Giants. It's a good matchup. I really don't want to try and trust that. There are just these guys that I would rather take an opportunity, a chance on over him. And one last thing here, Derrick Henry may not play this week. If that is the case, Hassan Haskins, outside of any other news that doesn't agree with this, then toss this information away, toss this projection away. But Hassan Haskins, I projected at just a little bit less work than Derrick Henry. Not a whole heck of a lot of less work, though, is the general quick summary of how I projected him. And so with that projection, he ended up projecting at RB16, which would be right about David Montgomery, Miles Sanders. So yeah, that's where he projects. I would rank him going up against Dallas, so it's not like it's the best matchup in the world, but there is some upside with that matchup. It's definitely not the best matchup in the world. Quarterback's kind of out, so there's some risks there. So I would put him probably right around in this group of guys in that 22 all the way. Possibly in that case, it would be down to like the 28 range. Rank him somewhere in there, but he projects pretty nicely. And so that is it for the running backs. Wide receivers, once again, will be coming out. Check out the other videos. Like, subscribe. Thank you very much. Hopefully I get back up onto my website sooner than later. Peace out.